Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spotlight interview. Today, I am joined by Kim Blair, who is the owner and CEO of Choice Practice Management Consulting. She has been with ClaimTek for a little under a year, joined us in April of 2023, and has done some incredible things so far, and looking forward to her sharing her story with you. So, Kim, welcome to the call. Great to have you on here.
Oh, Brian, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I am glad to have you. I'm glad to have you. And, we've been talking a little bit recently, but we haven't been working together, the entire time. So, I'm as excited to hear your story again because it is a great one. What you've done previously, what kind of brought you into ClaimTek. These are some of the questions that, a lot of people want to know. And why don't we get started with, what did you do previously? What kind of, drew you to medical billing, or, why did you want to start a business for yourself in general? What were you doing previously in your, past life before your successful billing business?
Oh, well, I have a degree in education, public education, and I have a background in teaching. Um, Before our oldest child was born, I taught in public school for 3 years. And then once he was born, I was a stay-at-home mom for 22 years. And during that time, we became an active duty military family. And so we would move every 2 to 3 years. We have 4 children. And so during that time, our kids were little. There's a lot that's happening. As the military is moving us, it became very hard for me to transfer my teaching license from state to state. And by the time things would get settled, the military would pick us up again and we'd move. So trying to keep a consistent job that I felt was worth my time and was going to pay me what I felt without sacrificing being with my children and providing a sense of normalcy for them as we're moving all of the time and dad's deploying and all of this stuff. That was pretty much non-existent, right? Especially prior to COVID. It just didn't happen. Yeah. And so jump ahead 22 years. Our youngest started middle school in 6th grade, and I decided, well, I'll go back to teaching part-time
Mhm.
while they're at the middle school that he and my other children had gone to. So I was very familiar with it. So I went back to the classroom for 5 years. And during that time, we went through COVID. We did all of that. I'm a music teacher,
Okay.
a choral music teacher. And so we were the last group to ever to be able to teach our subjects because you weren't allowed to sing in the
Oh,
classroom.
right.
Yeah.
COVID. Oh, my.
So even with masks, even with all of that, and by my 5th year, I was just completely burnt out and I had nothing more to give to my students. And I just felt like, you know what, I just have to resign. So I did. I resigned in 2021 and spent the next year just kind of taking care of myself. And in the meantime, during that year, and during the year of 2022, uh, went I decided that I was going to look for a job. And one thing that I did learn while I was teaching during COVID was I really loved remote work. I did love teaching remotely. I loved that I could be at home, get things done, shut my computer, and ta-da, there I was, mom
There
again,
you go.
right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that was one thing that I learned. And so I decided, I'm going to go look for a remote job. Sure, why not? I have got a lot of experience, not necessarily teaching, just anything.
Mhm.
And I went looking, and it was a struggle to even get anyone to look at my resume. And it was very frustrating. Several months.
Yeah.
And I just was so surprised and got really frustrated and decided, you know what? If no one else is going to hire me, I'm going to hire myself. So why don't I start a remote business? So that's when I went looking for different remote opportunities that were out there. I knew I was going to need some sort of support, whether that was a franchise or a licensee situation or something. Like I wasn't just going to go out and start something. I needed someone who already had the ball rolling that I could just mimic and grow, right? So I recognized that. And so I started looking at different opportunities, and ClaimTek's name kept coming up in different searches that I was looking at in different opportunities, and recommendations by people who really understood the world of business.
Mhm.
And so I thought, okay, I no experience with medical billing.
Right.
Um, so I was a little concerned that maybe because I didn't know anything about it, maybe I couldn't do it. But
Right. And a lot of people
yes,
feel that way too. They're like, well, maybe I'll go to I'll go and I'll take a billing course, and then maybe I'll go
yeah,
work for a doctor for a little while and gain some experience, and then I'll try to start my business. But
right.
um,
Which I
how did
thought
you feel
too.
with kind of just jumping in with ClaimTek without any prior experience and just kind of hit the ground running, with it?
Yeah, well, during my research, I did watch a lot of testimonials from your clients, and many of them were like, "I didn't have medical billing experience. Like, just go and do this. Their support is what they say it is,
Mhm.
and you can do it, and they'll be with you the entire time." And so I kept coming back to that and coming back to that, and I'd go away and I'd look at something else, and I kept coming back, and I'm like, "Okay, clearly." I'm feeling comfortable with what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding. So let's call ClaimTek and find out a little bit more. So that's what I did. And it took me several months like to get to that point. It wasn't just like an overnight thing. Like I did
Right.
my research, right? Like um in all different kinds of opportunities. So anyway, when I decided it was time to call ClaimTek after several months, I got in touch with ClaimTek and started asking questions, and you all were wonderfully responsive. You would answer my questions. You weren't calling me all the time going, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" Like you were letting me set the pace of everything. And I would call several times and I'd think about questions and then I'd call again or email and I would get wonderful responses. And I thought, okay, yeah, that from they are treating me the way uh, that I've seen other people in their testimonials that
Right.
this really is the way it is.
Yeah.
So I decided, all right, um, we're just going to jump in and we're going to do this. And I knew that when I started my business, I didn't want it just to be for me. Having an experience of being a stay-at-home mom for 22 years and being a military spouse, I wanted to be able to hire other military spouses and other stay-at-home parents so that for military spouses, as they moved anywhere in the world, they could keep a job
Mhm.
and they could keep going and they could work around their family schedule. Same thing for stay-at-home parents. They weren't going to have to sacrifice their time with their children and being where they needed to be for their kids for a job.
Right.
And so I knew that when I started my clean tech job, I wanted to grow the business. And so I came in with that mindset and came in with that goal and went ahead and signed up. I went through the training. The training was wonderful. It was very straightforward. Because it was all new to me, sometimes it felt like a lot, but it's not because it was a lot. It was just because it was new to me, you know?
Yeah.
But I also wanted to go pretty quickly too. So the nice thing about the training is that you can set your schedule according to your life,
Right.
right? But I wanted to get it done. I knew I was like, okay, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it. So I was moving right along with the training. Got done, went into the marketing side of the training to learn, what do you say when you talk to doctors? Like, I don't, I don't really know the lingo very well,
Right, right. Yeah.
you
Like,
know?
what do I do now? Like, I learned how to do this, but like, how do I do it?
Right. How do I implement what I've learned? Right.
Right.
So the marketing side of it was super helpful. Uh, and we came up and we wrote some scripts and I would change the script a little bit. And then ClaimTek gave me um, some leads that I could just call and try. Right. And there were
Right. Get a
leads
little
around,
practice
right.
in, just
Yeah.
start having the
Right.
conversation.
Right. And cold calling is not my favorite thing. I know a lot of people it's not either. It's not my favorite thing, but I did it because I wanted the practice.
Right. You
And
gotta do anything a couple times to get better at it.
mhm,
Just like anything, you gotta, crawl before you walk, walk before you run. Those are some of the
yeah,
things that would look to do.
yeah. And so that was very helpful. And I make some calls and then I call marketing back and we talk about my experience and we talk about how I could refine some things, or like if they asked me this question, what I could say. So that built my confidence that, okay, I can do this. I can talk to the doctors on their level with and help them with their needs of not only billing, but other services that we can offer,
Right.
like credentialing or transcription or things like that.
Hmm.
So finally, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm ready to build this faster. And so I went to marketing and asked, how can I do this faster when it's not necessarily cold calling, but maybe doctors are already looking for the help and they can reach out to me and I can try to find clients. And so ClaimTek to help me to set that up. And I started doing that about the middle to end of September of 2023. So
Okay.
just maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Well,
Mhm.
5 months ago, maybe. And I have 12 clients.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So that really kind of started to really, expedite your business growth by,
Mhm,
implementing some of that, warm lead generation and, knowing that, hey, the people that I am calling now, they are already interested. They've said
mhm,
so, and I've gotten their
mhm,
contact information. I know what they're looking for. So that makes it really kind of makes it a lot easier, for somebody to know that, hey, this person needs my help. They've got a
mhm,
problem and I've got solutions to be able to solve it. Makes you
mhm.
feel a lot more confident in, just the outreach itself, right?
Absolutely. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
excellent.
in
I
doing
mean, 12 clients in, well, a period of 6 months,
yeah,
two clients a
roughly.
month.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic. That's
yeah.
fantastic. We tell people, if you're just, I mean, even if you're bringing on one client every 90 days, I mean, you're building and growing and you're
Mhm,
reaching those goals. It's just a matter of time. But, the more you do, and kind of the more power you put behind your marketing, the faster you can build and grow. Because I always tell
mhm,
people, there's kind of two things with marketing: time or money. Right? You can either spend the time implementing and doing kind of the daily legwork, or you can put a little money behind it and find those doctors who might already be interested. But if you do a little bit of both, right, you
mhm,
tend to get the best results because it keeps you motivated, keeps you taking actions, and those actions are creating reactions and responses. But also now people are coming and saying, hey, I need this. Can you help
mhm.
me? You know,
And I'm starting to get referrals from current clients that I have. So
yeah.
other doctors are calling me saying, "Hey, so and so is a friend of mine, is a colleague, and they've talked about how wonderful of an experience they've had with you. I really need some billing help. Can we talk about it?" And so that's been helpful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the great part about this business because, I mean, once you get a couple clients on board and you show a doctor, hey, we can solve this problem, we can help you reach this goal, we can increase your revenue, they have a network of others that, a lot of their
Mhm,
friends are doctors, and, what do they do when they get around the table and, happy hour? They, like anybody else, they talk about their day. They talk about things that like, I'm grateful for. And like, oh, I can't
mhm.
believe I found this company. It solved so many problems for me. Like, what company? Tell me, I want them,
Yeah.
and like, it's the same idea. That everybody, shares kind of their experiences, good or bad. They tend to talk about them,
Mhm,
and so when people hear great things, because billing tends to be a very difficult issue to solve for a lot of providers. So it's one of those things that is always on their mind. Hey, how can I make more? How can I improve this process? How could I, you know, how can I find a company that I can rely on? I can look to
mhm,
as, hey, this is my problem solver. They know, I know medicine, they know billing, right?
mhm,
So if I have anything related to billing, I'm gonna call Kim. I'm gonna ask her because she's gonna be
mhm,
able to solve that problem. She's got the resources, and the backing to do so.
mhm.
And so that's excellent. That's excellent. So
Yeah.
in getting some of your clients, and signing those clients up, How did you feel that process went? Did most of your clients come on board in, 1 or 2 weeks, or did it take like 1 or 2 months in, discussions with those to bring them on board, or was it a mix of both?
Sometimes it's a pretty much a mix of both. Sometimes when you talk with a client, they are ready to go because they're backlogged with their billing or their current billing company isn't doing something. And sometimes the doctors are just looking because maybe they've been doing the billing themselves.
Mm.
And got a couple of clients who they've been in business for like 20 years and they've been doing the billing themselves. And sometimes it's difficult for them to turn it over to somebody.
Yeah.
So, having patience and just understanding where your client is coming from is really vital to building that relationship. Um, we are very responsive to the doctors. And so if they are ready to move, we're moving right with them. We're moving fast with them. If they are like, yeah, I'm going to sign up, or I want to sign up, but it's going to take me about a month to make that transition.
Mhm.
We're like, that's great. I'll check in with them every week and just be like, hey, I'm just checking to see if you have any questions.
Right.
Here's the items that we need to get your account up and running with us. So we're ready to go by March 1st or April 1st or whatever the date
Right.
is that they want to
Yeah, you can kind of
start.
just help them get their ducks in a row for it. So
Mhm.
when it does come the time and they, sign the contract, you can just get the ball rolling right away,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So really my biggest piece of advice is don't try to tell your doctors, your providers what to do. Listen to what they need or what they're wanting and then respond to that. And it's going to be okay, whether that's faster or slower. You're going to have a mix every time. Everybody's different.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. I tell people all the time, we don't need salespeople, but we want problem solvers. And to solve a
Mhm.
problem, you have to listen and try to understand what that problem is first. And
Mhm.
if, you spend most of your time listening and asking questions to learn really, I mean, you take a sincere approach to want to help somebody solve their issues, you're
Mhm.
going to do wonderful. You know,
Mhm.
um, because that's what people want the connection. They want to know that, hey, they're out to help me. They're out to solve this problem. It's not just, salesperson. I want to get this contract. I want to sign
Right.
this doctor. It's like, hey, how can I help you solve this problem? I don't need to sign a necessary contract with you yet. Just tell me what your problems are. Maybe I can, go to task for you and show you what solutions we have to offer. And then if you like those or one of them, we could look to implement those for you without telling them what they're supposed to do or what they have to do.
Mhm.
Later down the
Mhm.
line, they'll start asking you, what should I do? Right.
Right.
But
Yes.
if you're too overbearing in giving them directions and telling, well, you need to do this, or, well, that's the reason that you have problems because you're doing it that way. It's like, that's the way I'd like to do it.
Right.
And I know I could improve it but we can keep doing it this way. So, you can hit a wall if you're constantly telling and selling rather than just
Mhm.
asking and listening, trying
Mhm.
to learn the best, that you can with them. So you've felt that has worked well for you.
Oh, absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've always said too that teachers are great, business owners, because I mean, you do
Yeah.
want to teach them like, hey, there could be better ways of doing it, but again, you have to listen to somebody to see what do they need to learn.
Mhm.
How could I, look to help this person? And then you kind of, look at unique ways that you can do it based on the individual,
Yes. Absolutely.
right? So that's
Mhm.
great. And, I know you mentioned, coming in, no prior experience, in medical billing.
Mhm.
So, let's just say you get your first account. What was like that? What was that like in getting them set up? Because I mean, maybe it was a few months from the time that you completed your training to the time that you're signing up that first account. Did you
Mhm.
forget everything? How did ClaimTek help you in getting that first doctor on board? And to tell our folks a little bit about that experience.
That was one of the best experiences that I've had with ClaimTek because yes, you go through the training first and then it can be a little while before you get your first client. And then you get them. I kind of felt like a dog that caught a car, like, yeah, I got it. Now what do I do? So I remember sending um, an email to the marketing team going, I have my first contract. Help. What do I do now?
Help.
So they said, take a deep breath. Let's make an appointment, like, on their calendar. And so that's what I did. And I moved over to the support side of the claims, right? So
Right.
once you get your first client, you'll move to kind of the working with a billing specialist
Right.
at ClaimTek.
Onboarding and
Yeah,
actually doing the work now. It's like
right.
kind of having your college professor who trained you before come back in and say, okay, we're going to sit down and do it with you, you know?
Yes, yes. And so they did sit down with me and gave me a checklist and said, this is the information you need before we meet with you the first time. This is the information you need from the doctor. Get that. And there was a training video that I watched so that I could put that information into the to ClaimTek's billing software ahead of
Right.
time.
Yep.
And so then when it was time for our first meeting with the onboarding specialist and things, all she had to do was go through and check what I had already done in the software system.
Mhm.
And she would answer my questions, and then she would be like, okay, this is what needs to happen next. And so then I would go to the doctor and I would be like, okay, I need this from you. And the doctor would be like, sure. And they'd send it. And then I'd call them back. I'd call the onboarding and billing specialist back and I'd be like, okay, I have this information. Now what do I do? And so they took me step by step, right? And I think one of the great opportunities I've had for having so many clients back to back, like I've done, is that I've had practice over and over and over
Right.
and over. So I'm starting to get used to how it all goes on my own and building that confidence. Like, okay, I don't need to call onboarding every time I have a client now because I already know what needs to go into the system,
Right.
what steps I need to take. So now what I do is a couple of times a week, I have appointments with um, the the billing side, the specialist that can help me to answer now technical questions,
Right.
harder things that are coming up
Right.
as I've had some clients now for 3 and 4 and 5 months,
Mhm.
right? And so that ongoing support is, I just can't thank CleanTech enough for that ongoing support and helping me resolve issues and keeping my customer service level at at a high level so that
Yeah.
the clients continue to be happy and we continue to solve problems for them.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah, peak performance, that's our goal, you know. And then the consistency. But like you said, I tell this to individuals looking into the business, our goal is to really get you to a point where you know everything that we know, right?
Mhm.
Until
Mhm.
that point, you're going to need help. And we're going to
Mhm.
be there to assist you and support you every step of the way. But you're going to get to a point where you're like, okay, I don't need to call ClaimTek for this. I've done it 7 times. I know how
Mhm.
to do it now. Well, then
Mhm.
all of a sudden that elevates your level to knowing that, okay, if we can show somebody how to find 5 or 10, now I can find the next 50 and I know what to do and how to do it if I want to scale, to that level. And it
Mhm.
definitely does sound like, you've been scaling and growing quickly. You were telling me that you have 2 people working for you now, helping you with, your accounts as you have, because last week prior, to setting up our spotlight, it was I had 10 clients. This week I have 12
I do.
with
And
the
I have another
13
one.
on the horizon.
Yeah. Number 13 is right around the corner here. So
That's
yeah.
excellent. That's
Yeah.
excellent. So yeah, so now it's, you are accomplishing what really you set out to do, Kim, which is
Mhm.
just phenomenal. And I love, when you said that, I'm not just doing it for myself, I'm doing it for everybody else like me who
Mhm.
was looking for something like this, that I could work from home, I could be a stay-at-home mom, I could take it with me, as spouse of a veteran. We move from place to place, and knowing that other spouses are experiencing the same issues that you were, and now you have a solution for them, that can really, give them the type of lifestyle that they want, I can
Right.
work when I want, I can put it down, and that's another nice part of billing. Do you find that you just, work straight through all day long, or do you pick it up and put it down based on your schedule and availability? Because you can do the work any time of day, right?
Yes, absolutely, which is another reason why I chose to do this.
Right.
Yeah, and some days when I have more time, I am working quite a bit. But other days, I work the billing and the contacts with my clients around my everyday life,
Hmm.
right? So having that flexibility, that's what I wanted when I started
Right.
a business. I wanted flexibility.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to be under somebody else's schedule.
Mhm.
And it's happening. And I'm just so grateful that I just took the steps, that I just said, you know what, if I don't try, I'm never going to know.
Right.
And I tried, and here I am.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, at one point it's kind of like you research, you research, you research, and then you're like, well, I got to make a decision now. It's
Yeah.
like everything just sounded so good. I mean, I'm going to put, my faith in the process, and you kind of make the decision, and then, just get started. I
Hmm.
tell people all the time, sometimes people are like, oh, well, like we were talking earlier, oh, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to, learn it, and I'll practice it. And, 6 months goes by, and it's like, hey, within 6 months, you could end up having, 4 or 5 clients, where
Hmm.
rather than just, oh, I did some things over here. It's just like, you can start this business and make it happen, because again, you're in business for yourself, right? But not by yourself. You've
That's
got a
right.
team of people that are
You
behind
do.
you, and it's like, hey, if I don't know something, that's okay, because they will.
Yeah. That's
Right.
right. That's exactly right. And it's such a confidence builder when I'm talking to doctors and I don't know something. I just say, you know what? That's a great question. Let me ask my billing team and I'll get back to you. And the
Yeah.
doctors are like, oh, you have a billing team?
You have
Oh,
a billing
okay.
team. Isn't that a great way
Yeah.
to position yourself too? Because then it like elevates you. It's like, I'm the owner. I have a team of
Yeah.
professional billers with decades of
Yeah.
experience. Tell me your
Yeah.
problems, and I'll talk to my team, and we'll get some solutions to solve those for you. And that
That's right.
really alleviates you from feeling like I need to be the almighty, all-knowing billing guru, on the first meeting, because you're more
Hmm.
along the lines of, hey, I'm positioning myself as the owner of the business. Now I've got a team of professionals that can answer all of those, detailed questions, but I might not have every answer on the fly. As a
Yeah.
CEO, you may not have every answer on the fly. That's why you have the resources. That's why you have the specialist, and that's how you can leverage that. And you felt
Right.
that, being able to kind of leverage that, my team of billers, kind of built confidence in the doctor's eyes and minds.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. 1,000%. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
That's
and
awesome.
it's the truth though. That's the thing. Like we really do have team members that are there to help us answer questions and take a look at situations and use their expertise to help us present that to the doctors. And it's really wonderful. From marketing to billing to business growth to all of it, you know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So you've had great success so far, and you're kind of just on the tip of the iceberg here, because I know we're talking about like, hey, I want to expand and grow. What are ways that we can do that? So we'll be having those more of those conversations now. But what would you say your biggest challenge in your business development, as you got things rolling? Was it making the decision? Was it doing the cold calling? Was it, you know, just taking it a day at a time? I mean, what was it for you?
I think, well, probably a couple of things. One was just believing in myself, like believing that I could do this.
Mhm.
And even now, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I could do this, but I'm like, yeah, you can. You've gotten this far. Like
Right.
you're going to continue to learn. And that's how you build your confidence is by learning, right? And so just believing in yourself, you got to get past that,
Yeah.
right? First of all. Yeah. And then I think second is just there's such a need. I'm continually surprised at how much of a billing need there are for all kinds of providers.
Right.
And so the amount of interest that's coming to me, like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to, we're gonna have to expand faster. We're gonna have to,
Right.
so that right now, just because I think that's my most recent challenge is, you've got 13 clients. Like some are bigger, some are smaller. That's totally fine. You're gonna always have a combination of that. But learning how to work with that and maybe taking some of that work and giving it to somebody else, that so that I can be available for other things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Yeah.
really want to be that, the individual keeping the great relationships with the doctors, but not necessarily having to be the individual performing all of the daily, functions of the billing.
Right.
Right. That's nice. So when you learn it though, in the beginning, now anybody that's working for you, you know exactly what to expect of them because you're like, hey, I did my first couple accounts. I got them
Hmm.
moving. So now I know what's required. I know how much time it
Hmm.
takes. I know what I should expect of others. So I always tell people it's great because as a CEO, you kind of want to know what each person's role is, so that you can hold them to account,
Yeah.
and you can say, well, when I was doing it, I did, 200 claims a day. You're only doing,
Right.
what's going on?
Right.
Yeah. But,
Right. So you're moving to that kind of managerial spot.
right.
So transitioning out of that, I just, like I said, I think just because
Growing
it's my
pains.
most current, yeah, it's my most current situation, but it's a good thing to have. You're going to have that if it's something where you want to grow your business. I know some people are just looking to be able to do billing that it's just them and they just want to deal with their clients, and that's great too. That's another wonderful option that ClaimTek provides to you, is that you can run your business the way you want to run it.
Right.
So,
It's a nice problem to have though, growing out of your shoes and somebody saying, I want your help. And you're like, I've got enough.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's always that opportunity if you decide to. It's like people are asking for help. I
Mhm.
can help them. Maybe I just need some help too now to help more
Mhm.
people. So like,
Mhm.
help me help you kind of deal. That's
Right.
wonderful. Um, so you've given a lot of good, material and information. I don't want to hold you here all day, but I would say, what would be your advice for individuals looking at the business? They were in a position like you were, they spent a couple weeks or a few months evaluating the
Mhm.
business, talking to ClaimTek. What would be your best advice for somebody looking to get started?
My best advice would be just go and do it. Just
Yeah.
jump in and jump in full force.
Mhm.
Don't just come in and be like, well, I'll do 1 day of training this week and 2 weeks later I'll do another day of training. Like, no, keep it consistent. Like, if
Yeah.
make that decision that you're going to do it and then get in and do it. Right. So,
That's exactly right.
yeah,
You can do it fast or slow, but consistency is the key to
that's
mastery.
right. That's right.
Whatever
Yeah.
you're going to do, you have to do it and you have to be
Yeah.
consistent with it. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business and you can grow something incredible. If you treat it like a
Hmm.
hobby, that's what it'll be, a
Yeah.
hobby. So, whether it's, somebody's putting in 10 hours a week or 50 hours a week, as long as you're consistent, right, you can
Hmm.
make it happen. It's just a matter of how much time do you have? How much work do you want to, do?
Right.
And then you can judge that for yourself and then grow accordingly, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Um, Anything that you wish you knew before starting the business that you know now?
Oh, that is a good question. Not only did I learn about billing, but I've learned about business management.
Hmm.
You know, I'm I can teach you anything that you want to learn about choral singing. Yeah,
Right.
and how to make your voice blend with other people and do all that. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about medical billing. And so I feel like I am getting an amazing education along the way. While my business is growing and I'm making money, I'm learning. And as a teacher, I love that.
Hmm.
I love that I'm continuing to learn, even as a grown up. right?
Right.
It doesn't
That's what
stop.
they say, if you're not learning, you're dying,
Yeah, right. So I'm grateful for that.
That is fantastic. That's wonderful. I greatly appreciate, your time. It's been wonderful to see your success so far. And I can only imagine what's to come for you here, Kim, especially from one week to another. It's like, they just keep coming to you. That's fantastic. And we'll stay in touch and keep helping along the way. But I greatly appreciate your time, your feedback, letting people know kind of where you came from, the experience of it, and it really is, a matter of fact. ClaimTek
Mhm,
is there. We have your back. If you want to do it and you're willing to put in, the time and effort, the sweat equity, as they say,
mhm.
it's going to happen for you, and
Right,
you're never going to know everything before you do anything, right?
right.
You
Yeah,
just got to
absolutely.
do it.
Yeah,
Nike had a good slogan. I'll tell you what.
yeah, they did. That's right. That's right.
All right. Excellent, Kim. Well, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with everybody. You have a great day and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You got it. All righty. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.